All right, good morning, everybody. Okay, just a little wrap up on the video you watched yesterday on marriage and the family here. All right, so we're going to go through some of the major themes in Catholic social teaching for the rest of this week. So the call to marriage and the family is a major one. All right, so learning target there, explain the significance of marriage and the family in Catholic social teaching. All right, whoopsies there. Okay, so what is the family to begin with? All right, the Catechism defines the natural family unit as a man and a woman united in marriage together with their children. Ignore that. Okay, so that's how a family naturally arises, right? Okay, good grief. What is going on up there? Good morning, everybody. All right, I want to do a kind of a wrap-up lecture on, okay. Call to marriage and the family. So yesterday you watched a little 11-minute video on that, did an assignment. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here. So we're going to cover some themes of Catholic social teaching, some things that keep popping up throughout the different papal encyclicals that you'll read, or may never read, but should read probably. And the call to marriage and the family is a very common theme. All right. So first, what is the family? Well, the Catechism talks about the family as a man and a woman united in marriage together with their children. Okay, this is the natural family unit in the sense that this is where the family comes from, just according to human nature, right? A man and a woman come together through the marital act, then boom, they have kids. Okay, so that's where the family originates. It's kind of the original design for it. So that's a standard point of reference, if you want to put it that way, for other familial relationships. So if you've got single-parent households, adopted and foster children, etc., okay, those are all family relationships insofar as they are similar to the relationships you find within a natural family unit. Okay, so that's not to say that if you don't have a dad and a mom and siblings that you're not a real family. Okay, family relationships are measured against that kind of as the standard. All right. Okay, the family is supposed to be kind of an image of the interpersonal communion of the Trinity. All right, so we talked about this at the beginning of the semester, that mutual self-giving love between the Father and the Son, which kind of generates the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit's the love between the Father and the Son. That's the model for the relationships between father and mother and children. Okay, so sometimes you'll see Mary, Joseph, and Jesus referred to as the earthly Trinity. Okay. Because they kind of embody how the earthly family and that those human relationships model and mirror, I suppose, the relationships between the persons of the Trinity. All right. Okay, so we talk about the family as the building block of society, or the basic cell of society. Okay, cell in this case talking about like, my space heater went out. Cell like the cell of a body. Okay. So the family, first of all, is a society in and of itself. Okay, so you've got social relationships within the family before you've got any other social relationships outside of the family. Okay, so you've got neighborhoods and villages, that most local unit of society there is really the second most local unit. Those are basically networks of families living in proximity to each other. So it's a community of families. All right, then those neighborhoods form into larger groups, or villages form into larger groups, and you get towns and cities. Those are larger networks of neighborhoods. And then states are larger networks of towns and cities, and then nations are like larger networks of those kind of those mid-level arrangements. Okay, so all of society is built on these relationships between families. Okay, what does that mean? We'll get to that. All right, but the family is where you first learn to live with other people. Okay, so you first learn social morality, social virtue. You learn charity, okay, how to love other people, how to love God. So we talk about the family as the domestic church as well, because that's really where people are brought up in the faith. You can send your kids to Catholic school all you want, but if you're not living the faith at home, the chances that they're going to be really affected by what they're hearing at school are not that high. Okay, it can happen, but it's maybe less likely. Okay, so it's a school of morality. So what happens then is if you've got healthy families where people are learning good social morality, they're learning the virtues and charity, how to love God, etc., then your broader society is going to be healthy because people who grow up in healthy families and learn how to live with other people well are going to know how to live with people outside of their family better as well. Okay. And so your neighborhoods and your villages are going to be healthier, your cities and towns, your states, your country, they're all going to be healthier for that. All right, so protecting and promoting the family. All right, so the health of society depends on the health of the families that make up society. Okay, now, this doesn't mean that if you come from a broken family that you can't be a good person. All right, good people come from broken families too. All right, my own parents are divorced and remarried and stuff like that, so I'm familiar with that. But generally, if you've got a family where there's not mutual love between the parents and you're not being educated, their kids are not being educated in faith and morality and things like that, it makes it harder for the kids to develop virtues and to learn how to live well with other people in society. Okay. I think that's just kind of a natural consequence there. All right. So that's definitely not to shed, to throw shade at anybody. Okay. All right. But society has to protect and promote the health of the family. There are several ways we do this. Okay. First of all, recognizing the true nature of marriage and the family. Okay. Yes, that generally includes restricting the legal definition of marriage to being between one man and one woman. There are a lot of arguments, a lot of reasons for that. Okay. One of them being a slippery slope kind of thing. Well, if we redefine marriage, okay, what's to stop us from continuing to redefine it in various different ways until it basically loses all of its meaning? Okay, so if we allow marriage to be same-sex marriage, then that opens the door to other types of marriage. And there are other people pushing for like being able to marry your pets and things like that. Obviously, a small minority of people doing that, but or polygamy and things like that. You lose all objective kind of foundation for it. So, okay, so recognizing what is marriage truly, which we already talked about with Humanae Vitae. What is the family? And then let's protect that and promote that. Guaranteeing religious freedom and the freedom to establish a family. Okay, obviously, families need the right to exist in the first place, and then especially if we're talking about educating children to be good and happy people, okay, from a Catholic perspective, that requires the freedom to raise your kids in the faith. Protecting the stability of marriage and the family, so that could include legal and tax benefits. Also probably includes keeping things like pornography out of the public square, okay, making those things very hard to access if they're legal at all. Debatably, you could argue in maybe a different society that divorce should be not no fault. Like before the last few decades, divorce was only something you could get if there was like you could prove adultery or you could prove abuse or something like that. No fault divorce has really opened the door to getting divorced just because you're not happy in your marriage or whatever it is. Okay, so you could argue that no fault divorce is a bad thing for the family. Protecting the right to own private property, and then private initiative and ownership of businesses. We touched on this with distributism, how the family needs to have the right to have a family business, let's say. Okay. And that's something that can actually really strengthen the family and then therefore strengthen the health of society. Okay. So there are a lot of things that the church promotes as ways of protecting the family for the good of society at large. All right. So to tie this in with some other things, how much time do we have here? How long has this video been so far? I gotta keep it under 10 minutes. Perfect. Okay. So to tie this in, the common good, right? That sum total of social conditions that make it easier and let's see, the sum total of social conditions which allow people and groups to achieve fulfillment more fully, more easily. Okay, having healthy families is a major element of the common good. Okay, that sort of creating the optimal conditions for human flourishing, if you want to put it that way instead. All right, so if you engage in the literature of Catholic social teaching, then you're going to find a lot about the family. All right, I kept it under 10 minutes. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will you'll be hearing from me tomorrow. All right, thanks.